The World Bank Group has suspended fresh public financing for Uganda following the enactment of the Anti-Homosexuality Act. Now, for Kenya to brace itself against such cushions in the foreseeable future, what can we do as a nation? That is particularly our conversation today on Business Glide, your go-to point on matters public policy, business and economics at large, hosted by yours truly, Richard Mwanjo, son of the soil. And with me on this subject is none other than Herman Manyora, Kenya's renowned public scholar and East Africa's top political analyst. Herman, great to see you.
Thank you.
You're dressed so well today.
Thank you too.
Come on, whose wedding are you attending later in the day?
Africans don't have weddings.
Nowadays. Are you not attending?
I don't have Mzungu friends. Yes.
All right, but you look good. You look young, like Kalonzo Musyoka.
I don't look young, I'm young.
Really?
Yes.
A young man who is heading into retirement?
No, I'm a very young man.
All right, very well.
Yes.
Straight into the conversation, sir. We are talking matters how we get into partnerships with external partners and probably what should come out of it, which is of mutual benefit to both of us. The most recent development in Uganda is the suspension of financing, public financing by the World Bank Group, fresh financing. And it begs the question, we are trying to be so strong as the East African community, as the African Union and all that, so that we can have self-sustainability and all that stuff. But let me start from a general perspective. If we are talking matters of sovereignty, there are those who hold the view that probably Africa has never been sovereign, African countries. Do you think that argument somehow hold water, that we have not actually been sovereign enough, we are still relying on dictates of others?
Yeah, people who talk of client states, talk of neo-colonialism, but those are just concepts. And sometimes the reality in the world is that there is serious interdependence among nations.
Among nations.
Yeah. What perhaps might lack is a little respect for each other. Yeah.
Very well then. So when you are doing, going to a scale, trying to weigh the benefits and the cost of probably getting to a certain policy or agreements, would you say that at times it's good we also look on the moral perspective, the cultural setup and all that of a particular country, and not just the financing part of it?
You know, of course, as a people, you have your own value systems, your own culture.
Beliefs.
But you live in a world that is ever changing and evolving. And some of these things that are happening, you may not really resist them. Perhaps what you would say there would be how interdependent are nations. And how do nations use leverage on certain aspects? So, if the global West would want to influence, say, the South, or Africa in this particular instance, what is there that Africa also has that they can leverage on to also influence the global West, or North, if you wish? But the interdependence part of it, you can't rule it out.
You can't rule it out.
Yes.
This first, you've gone on record many times talking about the East African community and African Union still being a fallacy, that we are not there yet as much as we want to say we've already achieved having an East African community and also African Union. So if we are to get to those better grounds whereby we are solid enough to also have a bigger voice in the world, so where does that journey particularly begin, especially for Kenya being the center economy in East African community? Where does...
You know, African countries, leaders have a terrible sense of insecurity. Because of this terrible sense of insecurity, they are not willing to have closer working relationship with other nations around them. You see? Because you feel insecure, even in your own country. It's only when you feel secure, confident enough that you can deal with your neighbors. So, from the earliest time of the East African community until it is breakup, and then these new fresh attempts, it has always been about East African leaders perpetually living in a state of insecurity, feeling insecure rather. And from that kind of state, you cannot very easily relate with other people. with other countries and other leaders. Yeah.
Rightly put then. For example, our case here as Kenya, oftentimes will always go out for aid and for partnerships and for help when our public debt, foreign public debt, is really ballooning over the roof. But if you're looking at self-sustainability, self-reliance as a nation, so that we can have some sort of independence on our side, would you say, now that we have a new president, where does that journey particularly begin for Kenya as a nation, so that we really term over-dependence in foreign debt and all that?
I repeat, we live in a global village, and nations are highly interdependent. Talk of borrowing, all countries borrow. America has borrowed hugely. All countries borrow. Almost all countries are in debt. Talk of aid, it's just an arrangement. You receive aid, the other person receives something else in this global village. What perhaps you could be asking is, could we reduce our debts, foreign debts, by spending well what we borrow? Could we reduce significant interdependence, first by managing our resources well as nations in Africa, and secondly by closer cooperation among regional blocs in Africa, East African Community, ECOWAS, and all these others, SADC and COMESA? Can we strengthen those so that we have a bigger bargaining power when we are relating within this global village we call the world? But certainly, you cannot just all of a sudden get rid of aid, get rid of borrowing and so on. But I would agree with you that when you overbeg, when you are always walking with a bowl in your hands to beg, you have no dignity. So people will dictate to you even very simple domestic issues, but you don't have the face to look at them and tell them off. Because you steal every penny available in your country, so you must go begging. So the people you go to beg can even tell you how to sleep. When you sleep, face one side.
Or privatize national sugar mills.
Yeah. Forget about the Ugandan issue. There are all manner of things people dictate to you. Some of them will be good, some of them are desirable, you may not be seeing they are good, some of them the time has not reached. With the fullness of time you'll be there. Some of them are outright exploitation. Some of them you'll be asked to sell your national assets for a song, throw away. But the bottom line is, can you stand on your feet and look at somebody in their eyes and tell them, well, here you are crossing some line.
As much as they feed you.
Yeah. No, I'm saying you don't have you don't have the power. You don't have the wherewithal. You have nothing. You are a beggar. You are basically a useless man.
Hands tied.
So, if they tell you sell all sugar company, you'll sell. If they say even privatize universities, you'll privatize them.
Or layoffs to cut the balloon in wages.
Because tomorrow you are going to beg. They'll bang the door in your face. Go back to your country. So because you want to continue begging, you'll do what they want you to do. And the question would be, is there something we can do about it?
That's the question.
By managing our resources well. So that you have a dignified relationship with other partners. Because those relationships will be there.
We like it or not.
Whether you like it or not. We live in a global village. In fact, without even us knowing, we are influencing the West in a certain way. We are also influencing China in a certain way.
Russia.
We are influencing them as much as they are influencing us. But you see, ours can only be in a subtle way because you don't even know we are doing it. But these ones, because they have the courage, they know they are dealing with beggars, they can tell you to sell any of your assets and you sell.
And that's it.
Yeah.
He who feeds you calls the shots.
Yes. They call the shots.
All right, very well.
And there's nothing like free lunch.
There's always a bill on the other side.
Yes.
You are a rich walking repository of African history, and if we go back in time and look at African leaders who tried to bring up radical surgeries that were aimed at ensuring self-reliance and just their sovereignty, Muammar Gaddafi, Robert Mugabe, oftentimes at the tail end of their political journeys, it always went against them. Could you say that somewhat informs the fear or the slow steps we are taking towards achieving solid reliance and sovereignty as a continent?
Let me say this. We need to manage our affairs well. If Africa was managing its affairs well, I don't think any one of them will be in danger the way people say of anything happening to them. Just manage your affairs well. It is because your house is not in order that even in areas of governance, people come and teach you how to govern.
Many years after they gained independence.
Yeah, because your house is not in order. Let Africa learn to keep her house in order. Period. There's nothing else. Just keep your house in order. Manage the natural resources well.
The exploitation.
Yeah. Of course, there have been excesses by some leaders who, while managing the resources well, in fact, too well, have blown it out of proportion and started on journeys that will put them in conflict with the world leaders. Because again, you must also accept there's a certain world order in place, which then you would call the status quo. If you attempt to disrupt this world order and you do not have the muscle, so when I hear the president, for example, challenging IMF and World Bank and you, do you have the muscle to disrupt? Because you cannot be pointing fingers at IMF and tomorrow you are going to beg.
And drawing lines on the sand.
No, I mean, we have to manage our resources well and allow for human rights, whatever interpretation you give. Allow for human rights.
Rightly put there.
For democracy. You may be uncomfortable with a few things here and there. But so long as you are managing your affairs well, there are many of these things you can negotiate within this global village. Yeah.
And we'll be good to go.
Yeah.
All right, there you have it from a man born Manyora, the firebrand himself, talking nuggets of wisdom on matters how better as African, particularly Kenya in this African bloc, we can build our self-reliance and also upscale our sovereignty as a nation so that we can also grow in leaps and bounds. That has been our conversation today on this very insightful edition that we are also privileged to have one of our fans come all the way from Seattle, America, Prof, to come and witness.
Seattle.
Yeah, sure, imagine.
Wonderful.
Just to come and witness how we do this.
Thank you.
She was to come here with her entire family, but she was sent on behalf of the family.
Thank you.
And she's right here. Oh. There she is.
Grateful. Very grateful.
Very well. You can tell, our fans your name,
My name is Allison Jumbi Maguta, and I'm from Seattle, Washington.
Are you excited seeing Prof?
Yeah.
Wonderful. I'm also happy to see you.
It's a pleasure.
I like young people.
You like young people?
Yes, when you go back to Seattle, America, say hi to them. Say Kenya is a wonderful place. Because we are wonderful people.
Now that you're about to head into retirement, would you wish them to adopt you?
No,
Do you want to stay in Kenya for retirement?
They will throw me in an old people's home.
And there'll be no one to serve you for local Lugari.
Lombe is good enough for me.
It's good enough for you.
Correct.
All right. As one of our thanks to you for coming all the way from Seattle to be with us today, you can probably say hi to your friends back in Seattle and your family.
Yeah. I give a shout out to my mom, Monica Mwangi Maguta, and to my dad, Joshua Chiguna, and to my sister, Jenny, and to my favorite art, Janet Sinte.
All right. Asante sana Jambi Maguta. It's been a pleasure having you on board as well. And to all those, all right, sir. And to all you who are supporting us, continue to come through for us in terms of partnerships. We can give you value for your money, whether you want media coverage, live streaming of events, media consultancy, moderation of events, you name it. We are here for you as Nairobi Review Company. All you need is give us a call on the contact that have been displayed down there on your screen. And definitely, we'll have people responding to all your needs and timely so. Until next time on Business Glide, I'm yours truly, Richard Mwanja. Up next on your screen is the Business Glide African Proverb of the Day.